So on the next page, you just have the steps for what we just did for that whole process. So it's just kind of again, it's copied from the book. There's a lot of stuff copied from the book here. I just thought it'd be easier just to have it on a handout to discuss rather than trying to flip through pages together on a video, which gets cumbersome. So you do have the steps here to what we just did if you find that helpful. Now, I just want to talk a little bit about credit cards in general. So your book labels it as, are they marvelous tools or snakes in your wallet? And, they're sort of both. So credit cards are definitely convenient. Pay the entire balance by the due date for each monthly billing and you avoid interest charges, right? So if you can actually pay off your credit card every single month, then you're not going to pay interest. And a lot of times that can be really helpful because a lot of credit cards actually give you money back, right? Or bonuses and things like that. So a lot of them will give you maybe like 1% back, or they'll give you mileage for flights. So if you're the type that can pay that credit card off at the end of the month, then it could be really great because you could be getting some free stuff for it, right? Free money and free mileage. However, if you carry over a balance and the interest charges really quickly add up because the percents are so high. They are very, very, very high. So let's talk about positives and negatives. So advantages of a credit card, obviously, is you get to use the product before you actually have to paying for it. So if you can't afford it, you put it on your credit card and you get to use it right away. If you actually can pay off your credit card at the end of each billing period, which is typically monthly, then you're not charged interest, again, for most credit cards. So this is really great. If you can use them responsibly, it's a good way to build credit. So again, if you're paying them off regularly and you're not letting a large balance grow on your credit cards, then you can actually be building credit here and getting a better credit score. There's no need to carry around large amounts of cash. It's more convenient to use than checks. A lot of them do offer consumer protection. So if there's a disputed or fraudulent charge on your credit statement, you can let the credit card company know, and the amount is usually generally removed. Usually they're pretty good about helping to watch for that stuff as well. They do provide a source of temporary emergency funds, right? So if you are having a rough month or you just need to purchase some extra groceries and you don't have the funds yet, it's not payday, then you can use your credit card to help get through. It can extend shopping opportunities to purchase over the phone or internet. Simple tasks like renting a car, booking a hotel room can be difficult or impossible without a credit card. That's true. A lot of times you do have to have a credit card to put down if you were booking a hotel room or something like that. Monthly statements can help you keep track of spending. Some of them do also issue annual statements. Many do provide amenities, which I mentioned, such as free miles towards air travel or even cash back. And it all can be useful as identification if you need multiple pieces of identification. So now the problems, high interest rates are typically very relevant. So they can go, in 2009, interest rates were as high as 30%. It's pretty normal to see credit cards in the high teens to 20s for percents. There is no cap on interest rates. In 2009, the U.S. Senate defeated an amendment that would have imposed a 15% cap on credit card interest rates. The Credit Card Act passed by Congress in 2009 does not restrict when issuers can raise rates on existing unpaid balances. So your credit card interest rate is unlikely to go down, but it can definitely go up. They can go down too, I will say that, but they can change whenever they want to pretty much. There is no cap on fees. So Consumer Reports cited a credit card with an enticing 9.9% annual interest rate, but the fine print revealed a $29 account setup fee, a $95 program fee, and a $48 annual fee, as well as $7 monthly servicing fee. So some of these can have really high fees or even like a monthly charge to use the card, or like a yearly charge to use the card kind of thing, like a enrollment fee. It's very easy to overspend, right? So we tend to use credit cards when we don't have the cash on us. So it's very easy to just keep using that card and not realizing how much you're spending within a month. And the minimum payment trap. So credit cards debt is made worse by paying only the minimum, which is what some people do. So when you pay only the minimum, you're paying a lot more in interest charges, and it's going to take you years to pay off those balances. A lot of times now, if you look at your credit card statement, it will actually tell you how long it will take you to pay off the card with using just the minimum payment, and also how much you'll pay in interest. So you really should pay the whole thing if you can, but as much as possible to pay them off quickly. All right, debit cards are something I think we're all used to. They were introduced in the 1950s, and they're plastic lookalikes that we see now were introduced in the mid-1970s. So they do look like credit cards, but of course, the debit cards are linked with your actual bank account. So it's your money that you're spending, not debt that you're adding on to a credit card, right, when you use your debit card. They can definitely be very convenient, obviously, when you go out, right? And they can also be used a lot of times to purchase things like hotel rooms and stuff like that. They do have drawbacks, so they may not offer the protection a credit card does for disputed purchases, although some do. It can be easy to rack up overdraft charges if your bank enrolls you in an overdraft protection program. That means your card won't be turned down if you do not have sufficient funds in your account to cover your purchase. So you are spared the embarrassment of having your card rejected, but it will cost you fees. So there's a lot of fees that can get accrued with debit cards, of course. So you still have to watch your balance. And think of it that this is your cash, this is checked, so you need to keep track. So a lot of times if you're using a debit card, you may not be thinking about how much you're spending, kind of same idea with the credit card, and then you could have a lot less in your account than you realize. So you want to make sure you keep track of your balance, which is a little bit difficult to do when you're just kind of swiping as you go. All right, so the last thing we're going to talk about is credit reports and credit scores. So as a college student, if you're a younger, fresh out of high school college student, then it's unlikely you have a credit history. So once you start applying for your first credit card or your first personal credit report will begin. So a credit report contains the following information. It has identifying information like your name and social security number. It has a record of your credit accounts. So any accounts that are opened or have closed with the balances and payment histories will be on there. Any of your public records, if you had bankruptcy information, would also appear on here. Any collection agency information would appear in here. And any inquiries. So companies that have asked for your credit information because you applied for a credit card or something like that would also be listed there. So basically it's like a summary of your credit history. So if you have credit cards, things like that, they're all going to be on this one report. Organizations known as credit bureaus collect credit information on individual consumers and provide credit reports to potential lenders, employers, and others upon request. The three main bureaus are Equifax, Experian, and TransUnion. And you can get your credit report from the three bureaus for free every year. You can go directly to their websites too, but you can also go to annualcreditreport.com. Now, the reports don't have to contain your credit score. So if you want your credit score, you can also get that too. Sometimes you may have to pay for it, although there's a lot of free ways to get it nowadays as well. So credit bureaus use data from your credit report to create what's called a credit score, which is used to measure your credit worthiness. So the higher your credit score, the more likely you are to get approved for loans and credit cards at lower rates as well. So your credit scores, also called FICO scores, range from 300 to 850. And again, higher scores are better credit. Basically, it means that you have shown that you can manage credit appropriately, right? So you're paying off your loans and your bills on time. You're not having late payments. You are not having too much debt, right? So if they see that you have 5 maxed out credit cards, that's not going to be good for your credit score, right? So you want to have a low debt ratio there so that you're not, putting too much debt on your credit cards. Again, you're making regular payments and things like that. They want to see that you're responsible with credit. So if you have a higher score, it shows that you're more responsible. You will get the best interest rates on loans. So it's going to lower your interest rate the higher your credit score, typically speaking, and you'll be more likely to be approved as well. If your credit score is good, again, you may still get approved for that loan, but maybe your interest rate is going to be higher. If your credit is fair, again, you may get that loan, but probably the interest rate is going to be really high. And then if you have poor or bad credit, you may not be accepted for a loan or a credit card at all. So it's going to affect if you're going to be able to purchase a car or purchase a home or even take out things like, personal loans and credit cards and things like that. So having a good credit history and having a high credit score is really, really important. It's also a way to save you money. So if you have a high credit score, you're going to have lower interest rates, which is going to save you money over time. So it's really important to manage your credit well and make sure you make your payments on time and that you're not overdoing it with too much debt. So all really important things to think about here. Okay, so just some kind of summary things to think about here. So what's the bottom line on responsible credit card use? So how can you be responsible, and also then this will help increase your credit score as well, is try to pay off the entire balance by the due date for each monthly billing. And if you can't pay off the entire balance, pay as much as you can and make sure your payments are on time. Use only the card to make purchases that you really can afford. So unless it's an emergency and you need something, that's different. But obviously, if you don't need something and you can wait till payday, then wait till payday, right? So, or make sure you can pay it off once payday comes. Save all your receipts and make sure you check your itemized billing, make sure there's no errors on your bills. And then again, use your credit card sometimes, but also use your cash and your checks and your debit card, right? So you don't want to rely on your credit card necessarily for everything, for all of your transactions, right? It's easy to forget how much you've spent and to overspend very quickly. Try to look for a card if you can with no annual fee and a low interest rate. Again, those low rates are hard to find, but you can do some online research if you're looking for your first credit card. And a lot of first credit cards will start you off with a low threshold for your balance. So they may max you out at like $1,000. So you can't have a balance of more than $1,000. But as you show that you're responsible with the credit card, then they may let you have larger balances on that card. Not that you want to do that, but they will increase your spending limits there. So just some things to think about as you're going out and just starting your financial history if you haven't yet.